All right, let us get started. So, hello friends, and welcome to this webinar on Lean and Six Sigma. My name is Shashank Hazare, and I am a black belt Lean Six Sigma professional, and I have been using these tools and techniques for the past 7 years into the manufacturing environment. Currently, I am heading the Operation Excellence department for a manufacturing plant comprising of more than 600 employees. So, today, what we are going to do is we would look at the following topics in this webinar. So this webinar is going to be a very crisp webinar wherein we will look at what is the gap between the industry expectations and the skill level that the students are currently offering. What are the exact expectations from the industry? Then we would look at what are the benefits of Lean and Six Sigma training to the students. Then we would also look at what is the importance of Lean Six Sigma to the industry. We'll have a very quick introduction to Lean as well as to Six Sigma, and then we would speak about the skill enhancement program that we would be launching very shortly. After this webinar also, we would be having two additional webinars, specifically one on only what is Lean, what are the Lean tools, and we would be elaborating on what are the 8 ways defined by Lean. You would understand all these concepts in that webinar. The second webinar will be on Six Sigma, wherein you would understand what is exactly Six Sigma, how is the Sigma level calculated for any process, and what are the various tools and techniques used in Six Sigma. So these two webinars will be launched after this webinar, and even these two webinars will be free for you. And after that, we will start with the skill enhancement program, because for the skill enhancement program, you need to get a basic understanding of what is Lean and what is Six Sigma and why we are getting into this skill enhancement program. All right, friends. So let us get started with today's topic. So first point that we will be addressing is what do our tycoons have to speak, our business tycoons. Let us start with Mr. Narayan Murthy, the founder of Infosys. He has been repeatedly blaming the faulty education system for lack of proper training to the students. That is why he says that 80% of Indian youngsters are not properly trained for any job. There are similar views from C.P. Gurnani, the CEO of Tech Mahindra. He speaks about the skill gap, and he has asked a very valid question that are we creating people for unemployment? And why is he asking so? Is because if you look at the admissions specifically to the engineering streams, people without even 60% in the 12th are eligible to get admissions for engineering streams, but they cannot go for BA and other courses. So he's rightly questioning, are we creating people for unemployment? And he is also talking about who should now take this responsibility of reskilling people. And he has said that this responsibility is now lies on the industry. Industries have to tie up with colleges and start reskilling students based on their requirements. The IIT directors, they're talking about the problem of plenty, wherein there are a lot of engineering colleges with outdated curriculum, poor infrastructure, and faculty shortages, which are a common problem if you look at many of the institutes. And the shareholders of various companies, even they have similar opinions, and they insist on institutions and industry going hand in hand in training students for better skills. So what are the exact expectations of the industry from students? If you look at, industries are expecting students to have knowledge beyond textbooks. That is, they want people, because if you look at engineers, they know what are the definitions and what are the various laws and everything, but they should be able to apply those to solve real world problems. And that is what the industry is expecting them to do. The other very key expectation is the freshers should be able to challenge the status quo. What do we mean by challenge the status quo? There are a lot of practices that have been going for years within the industry, and those practices are being followed blindly. What is expected from freshers is they do not accept those practices easily. They challenge it and they try to find out if there is a better way of doing things. The other expectation is the freshers should be able to lead and take more responsibility, because there is a sense of casual approach when it comes to students but that is not expected when you get into industry, and that is why they say that they should be able to lead and take up more responsibility. And students should also have problem solving attitude, and I would stress on this word attitude, because even if you're not able to solve problems, it is fine, but you should have that tendency to at least solve problems. Because if you look at currently in the industry, there are a lot of people who are mere storytellers that just want to tell what is the problem. They don't want to give solutions. Industries are looking for people who can give solutions, and solution seekers, they grow very well in their careers. It is expected that freshers are versatile and they don't just stick to their comfort zone. They have a positive approach, they're ambitious about their growth, and they are very good team players as well as have good communication skills. Now let us look at why Lean and Six Sigma is important for the industry. Let us look at this very simple example over here, wherein we call this as a seller's market, wherein if you consider the cost of producing a product or a service is rupees 10. The company adds 1 rupee as the profit and sells that product or service at 11 rupees. This is a typical seller's market which normally does not exist nowadays. Nowadays what happens is there are a lot of players in the market who are offering the same product or service, and there is competition with respect to sales price. And that is why one cannot dictate what will be the sales price of his or her product, and if he tries to do that, he is not going to be profitable, or he is not going to have that much of turnover. This typical case arises only when there is a new product in the market and you have a patented product for that, wherein there is no other player in the market who is producing the same product. What is typical in the market is the buyer's market, wherein the customer is the king and the customer decides at what price he is willing to purchase a particular product. So over here what we see is, like we said, the price of the product or the service gets fixed. That is, say for example, 10 rupees. Since it is a company, it is definitely going to earn profits because they are running to earn profits. So considering 1 rupee as the profit, the cost of that product or service will be rupees 9. So typically the industry has to produce that product or service at 9 rupees. If he is not able to do that, definitely it is going to have an impact on the profitability. And if the companies are not earning profits, they are not going to last long. So what we are trying to say over here is, to meet the customer expectations of price and maintain profits for the company should improve their processes to reduce cost. Reducing cost by improving processes is the key over here. Let us look at the same scenario in a different way from a shareholder's perspective. Any shareholder, what he is expecting is better profitability, more profitability, and optimized working or the fixed capital. If you are looking to increase your profitability, you would be able to do that only in two ways. That is, you either increase your revenue or you reduce your costs. When you're trying to increase your revenue, you have only one option of doing that, and that is through increasing your outputs. When you're talking of increasing your outputs, what you're trying to say is, for today, for example, if you're producing 10 parts a day, you should start producing 12 parts a day. That is how you're going to increase your outputs. And in Lean and Six Sigma, there are various tools and techniques like theory of constraints, debottlenecking, OEE, SMED. All these tools and techniques are available in Lean and Six Sigma, which are definitely going to help you in increasing outputs of any facility. The second step to improve profitability is reducing cost. Now, cost can be reduced by reducing direct material cost like raw material as well as packing material, or you could also go for reduction in utilities and overhead cost. Now, when you're looking at reducing cost in terms of utilities and overheads, you again need to have a process-based approach, because only if you're going to be able to reduce the process times, the utilities and overhead costs spent on those processes is going to reduce. So again, you have to come back to Lean and Six Sigma to have a process-based approach to solve these problems. So this is how Lean and Six Sigma is important for the industry. Let us have a very quick introduction to what is lean. Lean is a systematic approach to identifying and eliminating waste by flowing the product at the pull of the customer. Let us look at two very critical concepts over here. One is waste. What do you call as waste? Anything that is not adding value to the product is called as waste. Anything for which the customer is not willing to pay you is called as waste. I would explain this in a very simple example. For example, you are a say a nut and bolt manufacturer. Your customer needs your final product, that is your nuts and bolts. He is not interested in any other thing. But for your own procedures and defining good practices within your industry, you are documenting the process of how do you manufacture your nuts and bolts and how do you inspect those so that good quality nuts and bolts move on to the customer. Now, documentation of these processes, you are going to spend some resources over there. There will be a person allocated to document those processes, review those processes, identify if anything is wrong. So when you are allocating some resources, there is time as well as cost involved over there. Customer is not interested in all this, and so these are waste from a customer perspective. So you should be looking at eliminating such kinds of waste within a system. The second concept over here is pull of the customer. What do we mean by pull of the customer? Pull means only when the customer is asking for the product. You are not pushing the product in the system. Only when there is a demand, you are producing the product. What happens with that is, whenever you have produced that product, you have a buyer ready for the product and you do not store that product at your end. Because if you're storing the product at your end, your money is blocked over there and it helps you in no way. So lean evolved from the Toyota production system, which aimed at eliminating wastes and inefficiencies in manufacturing operations. What happened after World War II was Toyota almost went bankrupt. Actually, entire Japan was struggling after the Second World War. And because after the Second World War, the demands were very low for cars. So Toyota could not afford the economies of scale, that is producing cars in huge numbers, that is doing mass production to reduce cost because demand was not there. So this led to the development of a demand-led pull system. And also Japanese people, they could not afford mass production facilities that USA could afford given the conditions after the Second World War. That is why they started focusing on reducing waste and low cost optimization, low cost automations, and that is how this led to the Toyota production system, which eventually evolved as lean manufacturing. So lean basically talks about eliminating or reducing, that is minimizing the three M's: Muda, Muri, and Mura. Let us look at these three M's, what it is. So Muda, as we said, Muda is nothing but waste, wherein it adds only to costs and time, and there is no value added activity happening over there for which the customer is willing to pay. And as I said earlier, lean has defined 8 deadly waste, which we would be studying in details in our upcoming webinars. In this session, we will just look at what are those 8 waste, but we are not going to get into the details of those. We would have a separate webinar for the 8 wastes of lean. The second M is Mura, that is imbalance. And what are the reasons for imbalance? That is improper work distribution, variation in cycle times, and unorganized work. I'll just explain you this with a very simple example. For if you are producing a product that involves 5 processes, process A, B, C, D, and E. For the first 2 processes, the cycle time is just 5 minutes. For the third process, the cycle time is 10 minutes. And for the fourth and fifth process, again, the cycle time is 5 minutes. So over here, what happens is the first process can produce around 12 parts per hour. Similarly, the second and fourth and fifth process can produce 12 parts, but only the third process is going to be able to produce 6 parts in an hour because the cycle time is 10 minutes. Because of this, what happens is the inflow of material is coming at every 5 minutes. Process 3 is receiving a part, but he is delivering the part only after 10 minutes. So even though there is a capacity for process 4 and 5 to produce at 12 parts an hour, they will be producing only at 6 parts an hour, and this creates an imbalance within the system. So to balance out this, the ideal scenario is you would go for 2 machines for the third process. So there are a lot of things like this that happen within the industry which causes imbalance, not only with respect to the machines, it happens even with respect to people also. And this is how we need to understand what is imbalance, which is called as Mura over here. And then the final one is Muri, that is stress. Repetitive, tiring actions can lead to stress. And what are the impacts of that? Most of the times, equipment run into breakdowns because of stress, and they are run beyond their design capacities. Let us further get into the details of this 3M. I would explain this with a very simple example over here. Now, suppose you have to transport 12 tons of material in a 4-ton capacity truck. The ideal scenario would be you are loading this 4-ton capacity truck at its full capacity, that is 4 tons, and you do 3 trips. But in actual, this does not happen. What happens is initially you are loading 2 tons and you are doing 6 trips. So this is an entire waste over here. That is, you are wasting the capacity and you are doing additional 3 trips. Instead of 3, you need 6 trips. So 3 trips are again wasted. So resources spent in 3 trips are wasted. So this is Muda over here. What is Muri? If you are going to overload, instead of 4 tons, you are going to go for 6 tons in 1 trip, and you are going to finish the job only in 2 trips. You are putting excessive pressure, excessive burden on the trucks. The truck could go for a breakdown. That is, it is like a machine. It could break down if you are operating above its capacity. So this is Muri. And Mura is when there is a perfect imbalance. First trip, you do 2 tons. Second trip, you are doing 6 tons. And the third trip, you are doing 4 tons. So this is a perfect imbalance. You don't have a systematic approach at going about your work. So this is Mura over here. And Lean talks about eliminating Mura, Muri, and Mura. The ideal scenario, 4 into 3, 4-ton capacity truck loaded fully and 3 trips. No Muri, no Mura, and no Mura. So these are the 8 ways that I was talking about: defects, overproduction, waiting, non-utilized people, transportation, inventory, motion, and extra processing. We would have a separate webinar on understanding what are these 8 wastes and how do you identify these wastes within any system. These are the various tools and techniques used in lean manufacturing: value stream mapping, 6S, Kaizen, continuous flow, just in time, Kanban, visual management, Haijunka, Pokayoke. These are the various tools and techniques that have evolved from a Toyota production system into lean tools and are being used across industries. Now, similarly, let us have a quick introduction on what is Six Sigma. So Six Sigma is slightly different from lean. Six Sigma is a statistical, data-driven, structured approach for reducing variability in a process. So lean talks about reducing waste. Six Sigma talks about reducing variability within a process. And this is more of a data-driven approach wherein you have to go for extensive data collection and analysis and then apply the various tools and techniques. And this is also a process-based approach. So basically, what do we mean by processes? Process is a collection of related structured activities, activities which are done one after the other in a particular sequence, and for which inputs are in the form of either people, material, environment, methods, machines, and the outputs are in the form of either a product or a service is delivered through the transformation of inputs into outputs. So Bill Smith, he is also credited as the father of Six Sigma. He coined the phrase Six Sigma while he was working with Motorola in 1979. He, along with a team of engineers, was tasked to find new ways to improve the product quality. Now, since we are reducing variability in the process, definitely the quality of product is going to improve because lesser number of defects are going to pass on to the end customer. And Jack Welch, who was the CEO of GE at that time, he made Six Sigma a business strategy, and he adopted the science and added management responsibilities to Six Sigma, and GE was the company which benefited immensely from Six Sigma. What is basically Six Sigma is? You are going to produce 99.99967 products without any defect. That is only 3.4 defects per million opportunities. This is the amount of precision you are going to get with Six Sigma. That is only 3.4 defects will be occurring from 10 lakhs of production. This is the level of accuracy that is aimed with Six Sigma. When we are talking about outputs and product, so we are talking about the end results that we are getting. So end results are always going to have some kind of variability. Let us just quickly understand what are the various types of variability and various causes of variability. Now, let us look at this very simple example wherein you have to report to your office or your college at 6:55 a.m. daily. Is it possible for you to daily report exactly at 6:55 a.m.? Practically, it is impossible. You would report somewhere between 6:50 to 7 o'clock. And that is how generally people also say. If someone asks for you, he will say, boss, ye to 6:50, 7 baje tak aa jata hai. So that is how any process works. There is going to be some inherent variability within the process that is going to exist. And on a daily basis, the process is going to vary between that much. Now the challenge over here is currently we have a variability of 10 minutes. That is between 6:50 to 7 o'clock. Are we comfortable or happy with this 10-minute variability? If yes, no problem. But are you looking to reduce this 10-minute variability to say 2 minutes, wherein you report between 6:54 to 6:56? For example, your office till today was accepting till 7 o'clock, but tomorrow they say, no, 6:56, that's it, time up. So the customer is not happy you reporting after 6:56. So therein you are needed to reduce your variability now. So reducing these variabilities, you can do it with Six Sigma. And this kind of variation that are there inherent within the process are called as common causes of variation. There are other special causes of variation wherein one day you report at 6:30 or you report very late at 7:20. This happens because you might miss the bus, or you overslept, or you had a new bus driver, or there was a failure of your bus or your car, whatever you're traveling with. So these are some assignable causes, very special cases that do not happen daily. Your car is not going to get punctured daily. These are assignable causes wherein you can assign the reason for that specific incident. Such kind of variations are called as special cause variations. Six Sigma helps you in reducing both your common cause variations as well as your special cause variations. Typically, it is the DMAX cycle that is followed for Six Sigma with define, measure, analyze, improve, and control. These are the 5 phases in which a Six Sigma project is run. In define, you define the project, you define what is the actual problem and how much is the impact on the business because of that problem. You form your team and roles and responsibilities are assigned to the team in the define phase. Once you complete your define phase, then you move on to the measure phase, wherein you measure the actual processes and you collect data. After measure, you analyze that data, and in improve phase, based on the root cause analysis you identified in the analyze phase, you suggest a solution in the improve phase and you test that solution on a pilot scale. And after that solution is implemented, you go for the control phase wherein you get the sustained results. It should not happen that you have improved the process of producing 10 parts to 12 parts and after the project is completed, you are back to again 10 parts. It should stay to 12 parts for lifelong after that, or improve from 12 to 14. But it should not reduce from 12 again once you have completed a project. So the combined efforts of Lean and Six Sigma Life, as we said, Lean will help you improve the flow by eliminating waste. With Lean, you are going to gain speed in your deliveries. You are going to improve your processes and your flow is going to improve. With Six Sigma, your variations are going to reduce. With reduced variation, your processes are going to improve. So with combined with Lean and Six Sigma, you're going to get a smooth and steady flow. The benefits that industries have been able to capture, like I said initially, GE initiated Six Sigma when they were ranked #1. Even though they were #1, they felt the need of implementing Six Sigma after they studied what happened with Motorola. And they could save $12 billion in the next 5 years. And also they could add $1 per share to their earnings. So even the shareholders were benefited because of implementation of Six Sigma. 82% of top 100 companies and only 27% of the bottom 100 companies in the Fortune 500 companies are using Six Sigma. So this speaks volumes about if you have to be at top, what is it that you need to do. Today, also, even the top-notch companies, they are operating only around 4 Sigma levels. So there is huge opportunity to improvement, and for the journey from 4 to 6 is still a distant dream for all these top-class companies also. If you look at the various brands, right from you look at various sectors, pharmaceuticals, Zydus, GSK, Pfizer, look at automobile, Toyota, Tata Motors, you look at FMCG, Nestle, Coca-Cola, you take any sector, top-notch companies are using these tools and techniques. So there is a lot of opportunity working with these tools and techniques. What are the benefits that students are going to get over with this is, like I said initially, Lean and Six Sigma both are problem-solving techniques wherein you identify the problem and you try to propose solutions, and those solutions are going to be implemented and stay as a part of the process, as a part of the new process defined. So your problem solving techniques are going to improve immensely. You are going to be able to make decisions based on data rather than based on intuitions. You're going to get a better understanding of any processes, which will help you make versatile, which is one of the expectations. You would develop logical reasoning ability, and you're definitely going to start challenging the status quo. The current practices, you would look at these current practices in a different way because you're now developing a different perspective of looking at things. Your perspective is going to change, which is going to help you in the long run. Your people management and leadership skills are going to improve because you are going to start taking more responsibility of bringing in change within the processes. Your soft skills and IT skills are going to get enhanced. You are definitely going to get new opportunities, even with working with management consultants like, say, KPMG or Ernst Young or Accenture, all these very good management consultants, or you could even work as freelancers. You can get project-based assignments or even internships using these Lean and Six Sigma tools. And the most important thing that is going to happen to you is you are going to start speaking the language of continuous improvement. Continuous improvement is something that each and every person talks. Let it be in his own business, let him work in any industry, or let him do anything. Let him be any kind of professional. He talks about continuous improvement in his or her life. So this is the skill enhancement program that we are going to launch. We are launching it in various phases. The first phase is wherein we would be teaching the tools and techniques that would be applicable in all industries. So the first topic is on productivity and its measures. What do you mean by productivity, and how do you measure productivity in various terms? You would also learn on what is theory of constraints and what is OEE, that is overall equipment effectiveness. The second topic is on productivity improvement techniques, wherein you would learn on what is line balancing, work study, SMED, that is single minute exchange of die, spaghetti diagrams, and process mapping. These are very good tools and are used in industries everywhere. The third is problem solving techniques, wherein you would be learning on the typical 6-step approach for solving any problems. We would guide you through the 6-step approach, wherein you will understand how to define a problem first, then how to understand what had happened, and then how do you arrive at a root cause, what was the root cause of that problem, and what is the solution, and how do you control the implemented solution. So this is a typical 6-step approach that you would understand in this problem solving techniques. The fourth topic is on understanding of quality and customer requirements. Understanding of quality and customer requirements. Over here, you would first understand how do you capture the customer requirements, because customer will simply say ये product अच्छा नहीं है, but what does he actually mean by this product is not good? That is what we call as voice of customer. How do you convert this voice of customer, VOC, to CTQ, that is critical to quality? That is, when he says that this product is not good, what does he actually mean? The size, if it is a shoe, the size is not good, or the feel is not good, or the color is not good. How do you convert this into a CTQ? That is what you would learn with conversion of VOC to CTQ. And cost of quality. Cost of quality is a concept wherein you would understand what is the price that you are paying to produce good quality products, and how do you reduce this cost over here, because in all industries there is a heavy price being paid for producing the right quality product. And the fifth topic is on 6S. It was initially 5S. 5S is now upgraded to 6S, where safety is also included in this. Over here you would understand the concept of what is 6S, what is the methodology in this, and how do you implement. And you can implement this 6S even at your house, not necessarily only any industry. You can implement it at your house, at your colleges, anywhere. So this is what the skill enhancement program will be there. But before starting this skill enhancement program, we would have another 2 webinars. One is on typical what is lean, what are the 8 wastes of lean, how do you identify these wastes within a system, and then the second webinar will be on what is Six Sigma, wherein we would get more into details of how do you calculate the Sigma levels, what do you mean by DPMO, that is defects per million opportunities, and what are the various terms and terminologies used in Six Sigma. So these will be another very short half-an-hour webinars wherein you would understand what is lean, what is Six Sigma, and post that we would launch this skill enhancement program. We would share the details of this on your mail IDs also. Thank you guys for joining this webinar today. Now I would open this forum for question and answers. You can use the chat window to ask your questions.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, sir. My name is Mahesh Mahapari, and we are now getting very nice information regarding the Six Sigma. So this is the tool where we can resolve the issue, and always we are going to improve any section where we are lagging. That is why Six Sigma is important for solving the problem.
Yes, Six Sigma is also a problem solving technique, and even if there is not a problem and you're looking to improve something, some processes, Six Sigma is going to be used over there. And it is basically a process driven approach wherein you are not going to blame any person or anything, but you're going to focus on improving the processes, because once you improve the process, your system is definitely going to improve, and that is going to be a long lasting improvement for you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Definitely. But recently, organization want minimum expenses and maximum output.
Correct.
So, so here is the tools we are always see improvement, but it requires some investment. So, and the timeline is also important, na, sir, in that.
Yes.
So how can we build up the way in that way?
So
in this tool.
So your question is very right. So that is why 2 concepts have come into place now. So Lean and Six Sigma. So initially what used to happen was people used to go with Six Sigma separately and Lean separately. But nowadays companies are focusing on Lean and Six Sigma in parallel, and they are not differentiating these two now. What you are saying is when we want quick improvements is something that you would get from Lean, wherein you have Kaizen. Kaizen is nothing but change for improvement. Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Anything you're changing for improvement is Kaizen. And this, how do you do a Kaizen burst? How do you capture Kaizens? All these things you could study in Kaizen, and how do you launch these Kaizen events. So Kaizen events are launched typically considering a particular theme also. That today, like you said, we are looking to improve outputs. So if you're looking to improve output somewhere, what is that section, and then you would start collecting ideas in that. What are the implementable ideas? How long it is going to? So these kaizens are typically go from 2 weeks to even 2 months, and the project is closed over there. So this is how you get
Yeah.
quick improvements.
Yes, sir. Yes. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
So I have a question from Akash. Sir, can you give some information about the structure of course? Okay. So the structure, how it is going to happen is you would have a 1 hour video lecture for these courses that we mentioned earlier for all these courses, and it would not only have you would not only study the basic definitions, but you would also get some industry applications, and I'm also looking to put in some college oriented applications so that you can relate from your college to even the industries, because even if you directly have some industry oriented examples, you might not be able to connect. So this is how it is going to be, and there will be a certification awarded for each of these courses separately. We'll have a small test after each of these course, just to test are you able to understand. The test will have no implications on your certificate, but the test will just be for you to understand if you are able to understand the concepts in this course. The test will not be the criteria for certification. So there is another question: what is going to be the fee structure? Fees will be very nominal with these courses. We are looking at somewhere around 50 to 100 rupees per course. We're not going to charge because we all are college students, and charging huge amount is not feasible for college students. We don't want to do that. More of a focus is on developing skill sets over there. We have a question from Rishi. He's asking, is Six Sigma a software? His app means it gets implemented. No, Rishi. Six Sigma is not a software. Six Sigma is not a software. Six Sigma is a methodology which has to be implemented, which has to be first understood. Then you understand your problem. You try to solve those problems. And in this methodology, you have the DMAC cycle, that is the define, measure, analyze, improve, and control. These are the 5 phases of Six Sigma through which you are going to improve some processes. And let me also tell you that some people might tell you that mine is a Six Sigma company or something. No company in the world can be said to be a Six Sigma company. The reason is simple. Six Sigma level is calculated based on the customer expectations. You will get more details of this in our next webinar on Six Sigma. But in short, Six Sigma level is calculated based on customer requirements, and customer requirements can keep on changing. So no company can be said to be Six Sigma, but a process can be said to be Six Sigma, which is waiting for a particular uh, uh, is is there used in gaming industry? Is there any example? Okay, so gaming industry is something Six Sigma is used in even in gaming industry, but it is not a DMAC approach over there. It is a DFSS approach over there, wherein you design for Six Sigma, because in gaming industry you are starting with designing new things, you are developing new things. In gaming industry, even in R&D, you are going to develop new things. Where you are developing new things, there is a different approach, and that is a different approach. It is not a DMAC approach, it is a DFSS, designed for Six Sigma. And we would not be covering that because it is a very different topic. And to speak honestly, the DFSS is very limitedly used, because scientists and all these people, they feel that they know much more than what Lean or Six Sigma professionals know, and they do not want to adopt these methodologies over there. There are very limited applications in specifically in India with DFSS, designed for Six Sigma. Very limited applications. If anyone has a question, he can even unmute his mic and go ahead with his questions. What kind of software is used for implementing these methods? Okay, so there is no direct software for implementing Six Sigma. Six Sigma is not a software driven approach, but there are softwares used within Six Sigma for data analysis. For example, there is Minitab. Minitab is a statistical software which is used for data analysis. Even Excel is used for data analysis in Six Sigma. But there is no software end-to-end for implementing Six Sigma. You have various templates and various methodologies given by a lot of people, but there is no direct software for implementing Six Sigma. So if you don't have any further questions, I think we can conclude with our session today. So what we are going to do is next we would have 2 additional sessions, like I said, one on Lean and one on Six Sigma. We would share the details of those with you. Please feel free to contact us for any queries you have. Thank you.